Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Draft Hub. Today, we're going to be going through all of my picks for Capital One Bowl Mania here. So, obviously, as the years go on, the bowls get crazier, the sponsors get nuts, and this is an exciting time. Contrary to a lot of casual college football fans, I love bowl mania. I love all the different types of bowls. I just love seeing a bunch of different matchups that we never really get to see in the actual college football season itself. So I'm going to be taking through, it says I'm making 46 picks here, but a lot of these picks we are actually going to skip over because not a lot, I shouldn't say. The college football playoff bracket picks are the ones that I'm going to be skipping over because I already made those picks in a separate video. So we're going to go bowl game by bowl game, and that's how we're going to make our picks here. But before we get into this, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and leaving a like on this video. We're rolling right along. We're getting towards about 1,500 subscribers here, so that's awesome. I'd love to get to about 2,000 by the time the NFL draft rolls around. That would be a really nice number to get to, and I think it's certainly attainable with your help. So thank you guys so much for your continued support. And let's get into it here. We have the Cricket Celebration Bowl as the first one here. And I'll be quite honest with you guys, I don't really know too much about South Carolina State and Prairie View A&M this year. I guilty as charged, but I do know one thing is that South Carolina State has been pretty much a force to be reckoned with in the FCS for quite some time now. They have produced quite a few very good NFL players. You know, Darius Leonard rings a bell there. Shaq Leonard rings a bell on that one. Aaron Smith is another player from last year's draft class that was a good player as well. I think I'm going to stick with South Carolina State in this one. Yeah, like I said, maybe to my own fault here. I'm not really too familiar with the way that both of these teams have played this year. So we're getting off to a little bit of a rocky start, but I am going to take South Carolina State purely because I do think that they are the better overall program. So next, we have the bucked up LA Bowl between Boise State and Washington. Now, this is a solid game here. So this is what winning the Mountain West gets you. If you're Boise State won the Mountain West last week over UNLV, and it gets them the bucked up LA Bowl. And then Washington going 8-4 in a treacherous Big Ten gets you the bucked up bowl. Very interesting how it goes. But yeah, Washington has had a fantasy. This is where these picks get tricky because you have players like Euphrates Prysock, Takario Davis, a Denzel Boston, a Jonah Coleman, guys who are going to be, NFL draft prospects. I don't know if these guys are going to play in these bowl games. That's the thing. I think that, Damon Williams playing, makes everything a whole lot better because he's so awesome. But, this might be closer than we think because if a lot of those guys don't play, then, it's a closer matchup than we think. But Boise State, good season. They kind of won the Mountain West the way that I thought they were going to when I did my conference championship predictions. I said they're going to have to lean on the passing game against that poor UNLV pass defense, and they did, and that's how they won. But I do think as long as, barring anything else, at this point I haven't read or heard anything about these players opting out of the bowl game for the most part, and it is only a couple days away at the time of recording. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Washington Huskies here over the Boise State Broncos. I just think that they have a better overall team, more talent, especially on the defensive side. I think they're a little bit more talented than Boise State. Moving on, you have the Troy Trojans, who unfortunately lost the Sun Belt Championship game to James Madison, and they're taking on Jacksonville State, who unfortunately lost the Conference USA Championship to Kennesaw State. So two conference loser. Wow, that's a bad way to say it. I was going to say conference losers, but we got what does that say? The IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. All right. So that's what losing your respective conference championship games gets you. You're playing in the Salute to Veterans Bowl. So great initiative, great incentive there. I love that. I love that we are saluting to the veterans here. But Jacksonville State had a great season. They had, outside of the military schools, they had the best rushing attack in the FBS. It got absolutely stalwart against Kennesaw State in the conference championship game. And really, Kennesaw State being as ballsy as they were, that's really the reason why they came out on top. But Jacksonville State played a good game, but they stuck to their strengths, and it didn't really work out like it did in the first meeting between those two teams. Troy kind of was fighting an uphill battle to begin with. JMU is just such an unbelievably solid machine. Bob Chesney leaves to go coach UCLA now, and they replaced him with Mr. Sunbelt himself, Billy Napier. I love that hire for James Madison. Just a well-oiled machine. But Troy, you know, good overall season. Really, I didn't expect this from the Troy Trojans. I think that they have the upper hand. I think defensively they're better than the Gamecocks. I think offensively, they have more juice than the Gamecocks do. I think they'll be able to clamp down on the Gamecocks running attack, and I think they'll be able to pull this one out. So give me the Troy Trojans in the Salute to Veterans Bowl here over the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. And look at this one here for the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. I mean, I think my favorite part of this video is just reading the sponsors for these bowl games. But the Staff DNA Cure Bowl here, you have the Old Dominion Monarchs, who are 9-3 this year, taking on the South Florida Bulls, who are also 9-3. And man, this is an explosive game because you have Colton Joseph and the Old Dominion Monarchs, who run the RPO offense probably just as good as any other school in all of the FBS. And then you have South Florida, who has Byron Brown, who I think as long as he were to stay healthy the entire season and continue playing the way that he did, I thought he was going to be a Heisman candidate. I still think it's a weak Heisman class. I still think he should have had a legitimate shot at being one of those finalists. But yeah, South Florida coming off of a really, really good season as well in the American Athletic Conference. I think South Florida get it done here. I think this is an explosive offensive matchup here. South Florida is a team that just wants to outscore you. I don't really think that they care about defense in a lot of their games. They give up a lot of points, but they are able to score at will. I think we're looking at one of the largest scores in all of Bowl Mania in this game here in the Cure Bowl. But give me the South Florida Bulls over the Old Dominion Monarchs in this one. And then you have the 68 Ventures Bowl between Delaware and the Ragin' Cajuns, Louisiana. So I love this bowl, and the reason why I love this bowl is because Delaware get a bowl nod in their first ever FBS season. I absolutely love that. They went 6-6. They had one of the more exciting offenses in the country this season. I feel like Delaware and Missouri State kind of flip-flopped as the season went on, where Delaware had such a strong start to the season, and Missouri State was fighting along. It kind of flipped towards the end, where Delaware kind of limped to the finish, and Missouri State finished very, very strong and finished at 8-4. And we're close in Conference USA, to be quite honest with you. But I mean, fantastic debut seasons for both programs. Both programs have a lot to hang their hats on. And Louisiana coming off of kind of a little bit of a disappointing season. I thought that they were going to be, a little bit more big time players in the Sun Belt. I thought that we were looking at, a 9 or maybe even a 10-win team, especially with the schedule that they did have. So that was a little disappointing, to be quite honest with you. But I'm going to go with a surprise here. Give me the Delaware Blue Hens here over the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. I just think they want it more, to be quite honest with you. And I think that's really half the battle with a lot of these bowl games. I think that Delaware is going to come in full force. This is their chance to shine. First FBS season. Imagine finishing with a bowl win, regardless of what the bowl is. I think that they're going to come and they're going to try and punch the Ragin' Cajuns right in the mouth. And I'm going to pick the Delaware Blue Hens here, and maybe a little bit of an upset over the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. Now we're going to the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So apparently winning the MAC and winning Conference USA gets you a Myrtle Beach Bowl appearance. Hey now. But you have the Western Michigan Broncos, who won the MAC. Fantastic season for them. You have Kennesaw State, 10-3 after going, 2-10 last year in their debut season in the FBS. Unbelievable turnaround for Kennesaw State. They had so many big-time players, big contributors who came back. Gabriel Benyard was a big player for them this past season as well. And Kennesaw State, man, this is a team that I think is a force to be reckoned with in Conference USA for years to come now. I think they have the foundation in place. It's going to be good for them. I mean, on Western Michigan side, the run game is really good. Brock Lowry is a good enough quarterback as well. I think this is going to be a fun game. At the end of the day, I do think Kennesaw State is going to get it done. Kind of sort of the same sentiment with a Delaware Blue Hens. I feel like Kennesaw State just have so much more of a chip on their shoulder going into this game, where, I mean, that's got to be one of the best seasons, one of the best turnarounds ever. when you go from 2-10 in your debut season to potentially 11-3, winning your conference and winning a bowl game, that is an unbelievable turnaround. Kudos to Western Michigan as well for having such a solid season. Where I did think I had them going 7-5 and being like fourth or fifth in the MAC. They definitely exceeded expectations, and they had a fantastic season in their own right. But I do think I'm going to pick Kennesaw State in this one over Western Michigan. And now we have another awesome matchup here. We have the Memphis Tigers and the NC State Wolfpack in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, if you guys could believe that. The Gasparilla Bowl, unbelievable. Yes, Memphis went 8-4. NC State went 7-5, but it was a tough 7-5. Really, I don't think a lot of people expected NC State to have a bowl eligible type of season. So a lot of question marks going into this season, or the offseason rather, for the NC State Wolfpack. Can CJ Bailey be retained? Can he continue to develop into what I think, at the end of the day, if he continues to develop, because this season he was so good, I didn't think he was going to develop into this player this quickly. We potentially could be looking at the number one quarterback in the 2027 draft class, or at least have a conversation for the 2027 draft class being the first overall quarterback. He's that good, in my opinion. I think he's great. So the big question is NC State going to be able to keep him at NC State for one more season and really build on a strong season like this? Memphis, 8-4, a little bit of a disappointing season given their schedule. They just lost their head coach, and Ryan Silverfield. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think Silverfield did less with more in Memphis than when he initially inherited the team. That's just my opinion. I mean, did he do an admirable enough job? Yes, but I think he should have taken this Memphis team far more farther than he did in his time in Memphis. But give me NC State over this one here, especially if CJ Bailey plays. I just think that this NC State team with, Hollywood Smothers, Justin Jolly, I think this NC State team is super talented, and I don't think that the Memphis Tigers are going to be able to keep up with the offensive firepower that the NC State possesses. So give me NC State here. I spoke about this before. I'm not going to be going through the college football games here. I mean, I will just pick them in the way that I picked them in the other video. If you want more of an explanation for the games themselves, there is another video. I will link it down below in the pinned comment. That is the video that I will say that. So I know a little bit of a pain in the butt here with the way that I'm going to be doing this, but yeah. So this is how we're going to do that. So, oh yeah, I forgot that Tulane. Oh, God, even forget that Tulane is in it too. But yes, all right, so moving on there. Now we have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl here between the Washington State Cougars and the Utah State Aggies. Now, really disappointing season for the Pac-2 in terms of Oregon State. But, now they have a plan in place. They have a head coach that I think is going to do wonders over there. Washington State kind of started off really, really rocky. I mean, they lost some bad games. I think they almost lost to Idaho, if you guys could believe that. I think it was like 12-10 was the final score. It was a rocky first half of the season for Washington State, but they did bounce back nicely in the second half. Kind of the same thing with Utah State as well. The offense with Bryson Barnes didn't really click at the beginning of the season. And then as the season went on, this Utah State Aggies defense, this offense rather, actually turned around and played very, very well down the stretch. Same thing with the defense. They actually played pretty well. Utah State, I feel like, kind of gets forgotten about in terms of like being an actually halfway decent FBS program for the most part. They produced a decent amount of talent for the NFL as well. Jordan Love most famously, but yeah, this is an interesting one here. I don't know. Washington State being favored at 70-30 to Utah State doesn't really sit well with me. I think Washington State is a team that plays on both sides of the ball pretty well. I think Utah State, even though they kind of sort of limped to the finish line at the end of the season here, I'm going to give the slight advantage to Utah State in this one over Washington State. So give me the Aggies here over the Cougars. Moving on, you have the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl between Toledo and Louisville. So this is a unfortunate matchup, I think, for Toledo, to be quite honest with you, because I think they're just going to be completely overmatched by Louisville, despite the fact that Chris Bell, we just learned, tore his ACL, a devastating injury over the last game that they played against SMU, a devastating injury for him and his draft stock. Unfortunately, this was a guy who was a fringe first-round pick. That really, really tough sledding for him. So my prayers go out to Chris Bell, and that's a really unfortunate incident to happen this close to the end of the season, this close to the NFL draft cycle. Really, really rough. So this Cardinals team is a little bit shorthanded for the most part. The run game is just so talented, though. And Toledo haven't really faced a team of the caliber of Louisville this year. And I think even with, being down one or two guys, I think Louisville, especially on the defensive side, I think they'll be able to hold Tucker Gleason and this Toledo Rockets offense. So give me Louisville in this one in the Boca Raton Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl between Western Kentucky and Southern Miss. Now, Charles Huff did a really, really nice job turning this program around in just 1 year. He took the entire Marshall Thundering Herd roster with him to Southern Miss. And, he got them to play 7-5. There was a time where it looked like they were going to be playing in the Sun Belt Championship game there, and that would have been quite the turnaround there. But they kind of came crashing back down to earth towards the middle of the season there, and they put in a 7-5 performance. And after being 1-11 last year, that's an extremely respectable turnaround, and so respectable that Charles Huff is now the new head coach of the Memphis Tigers team. So, kind of a one and done. Kind of screws the program there. I think Southern Miss just offered Charles Huff a way out of Marshall last year, and he just took it just to take it. And then he was like, all right, if I could turn this program around even a little bit, it would look really, really good. So, yeah. So you have Southern Miss here and you have Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky have been here so many times before. They've won, I think, 8 or more games in the last like 6 seasons here. Yeah, I just think Western Kentucky is such a well-oiled machine in terms of knowing how to win these types of games here. And Southern Miss, I don't know if Charles Huff will coach this bowl game, but even if he does, I don't really think that they have what it takes to keep up with the Hilltoppers in this one here. So give me Western Kentucky in the New Orleans Bowl over the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Now we have the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Hey now, between UNLV and Ohio. Now, UNLV lost the Mountain West Championship game to Boise State last weekend. And then Ohio is coming off of maybe someone considered a little bit of a disappointing season, not making it to the MAC championship game. But that tiebreaker for the second spot was just, I don't know, that the MAC championship game this year was really, really weird. There was, a lot of teams vying for that second spot. It wound up going to Western Michigan. They wound up winning. But yes, you have the Ohio Bobcats at 8-4 with Parker Navarro, and you have the UNLV Rebels, Anthony Calandria, who I think had a really, really good season for them. So my thing here is that I think Ohio's offense is really just kind of, I mean, Parker Navarro can throw the football. There's no doubt about it. But I think their offense is just solely based around the run. And I think to beat this UNLV Rebels team, you're going to have to pass the ball, and you're going to have to pass it efficiently, and you're going to have to pass it a lot. And I don't know if Parker Navarro is going to be able to do that against this UNLV Rebels team. I think that this is one of the better opponents that Ohio has faced all season. And I think UNLV have been here before. I think they know exactly what to do. I think they know that how they're going to beat Ohio here. I think it's going to be a nice little blend of a Calandria on the run and using his arm through the air. I think it's going to be a pretty one-sided matchup here. Give me UNLV over Ohio in this one. Now we have the Sheridan Hawaii Bowl. And this makes a lot of sense. You have the Cal Golden Bears against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who went 8-4 with Michael Alejo at the helm. And what a season it was for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Really a team that I feel like never really gets any love whatsoever. I think maybe they need like a logo change or like a color change, just because I feel like they're a little bit bland right now in the Mountain West, being this green blob of a team. The Rainbow Warriors is a team name that I want to see color. I want to see pop. So, give me something different here. But the Rainbow Warriors are a team that I feel like kind of gets slept on a lot. Cal putting in a really respectable season considering, they lost Fernando Mendoza and Jaden Ott in the transfer portal last year. And what we thought on paper was they didn't really do enough to replace them. But man, they had some season on the offensive side. Give me Cal in this one over Hawaii. I just don't, it's tough. This truly is a tough one here. But I think Cal was a little bit inconsistent this year towards the middle of the year, where like they'd beat a good opponent and then they'd lose to a bad one. You're just like, all right, well, what the hell's going on here? But give me Cal in this one over Hawaii. I don't think that Hawaii is going to be able to keep up with the overall complete game of the Cal Golden Bears. And now we have the Game Above Sports Bowl. Now that sounds made up, if you ask me. The Sports Bowl. So we have it between the Central Michigan Chippewas, who also had a pretty decent season, and the Northwestern Wildcats here, who put in a very respectable 6-6 record playing in the Big Ten and taking a lot of those Big Ten teams all the way down to the wire. Most famously at Wrigley Field against Michigan. We're not going to talk about Sharon Moore. maybe a little, but yeah, so Northwestern with Preston Stone under the helm, he kind of got unceremoniously booted out of the starting spot at SMU last year. He has bounced back nicely. He had a really bad first game with Northwestern. I think he threw 4 interceptions in his first game. After that, he just settled down nicely for the entire season. This Northwestern Wildcats team is a scrappy team. They really know how to fight, and I think Northwestern, the way that they play defense, the way that they run the football, the way that Preston Stone can play, I think that they're going to overmatch this Central Michigan Chippewas team, and they're going to win the Sports Bowl. And now you have the Rate Bowl. Okay, that's dangerously close to something awful. You have the Rate Bowl between the New Mexico Lobos. Wow, I couldn't speak there, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now the Lobos with Jason Eck have been a revelation this season. I mean, what a turnaround it's been for him. I think you give Eck one more season at New Mexico, and he puts in another season like this, or like a 7, 8, 9 win season, he's guaranteed to find a Power 4 shot as a head coach. Like no doubt about it. He's going to take one of these Power 4 jobs, 100%. Minnesota, for the talent that they have on the offensive and defensive side, maybe a little bit of a disappointing season. 7-5. You know, it was an okay season for the most part. Yeah, I think Minnesota kind of overpower this New Mexico team here. I think with on the offensive side, they still have Darius Taylor, who I hope is playing in this game. I think that they're going to be able to run all over New Mexico, but New Mexico is a team that, man, they've surprised us all year long. So I wouldn't be surprised if I go in here picking Minnesota and New Mexico wind up winning, and that would be a hell of a season for the Lobos. So hats off to them. They have one of my favorite logos in the Lobos have one of my favorite logos in the entire college football landscape. But yes, give me the Golden Gophers here over New Mexico. Now you have Florida International taking on UTSA in the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, and this could potentially be an explosive offensive game here. Yeah, the UTSA Roadrunners who basically score points at will. Florida International can certainly get up to that level as well. I am going to take UTSA though here. I think that they are the more well-coached team out of the two. And, Florida International really got themselves to a strong season where I thought that they were kind of going to be last in the conference. They started off very strong. I believe they started off like 5-3 or 5-2. Wound up kind of coming crashing back down to earth at the end of the season. But UTSA is a team that I think I expected just a little bit more out of this year. But offensively, they did exactly what we thought that they were going to do. So really the defensive side was the issue, as a lot of people did think. But I'm going to take UTSA here in this one. So we have the Go Bowling Military Bowl between two teams that are not from military colleges. You have the Pitt Panthers and the East Carolina Pirates here. Another strong season for East Carolina. No surprise there. Pitt having a strong season, considering the fact that Eli Holstein got injured and benched early on in the year. Mason Heinschel, another true freshman quarterback, kind of lit the world on fire there at the end of the season for the Pitt Panthers, and I fully expect him to continue going. I feel like this is kind of deja vu, where we felt like with Eli Holstein last year. I mean, Eli Holstein wasn't a true freshman, but we felt like, wow, this guy is really going to be something for this Pitt team, and that's exactly the same feeling I have this year at this point for Mason Heinschel. So I think he's going to be a really good player. I think East Carolina has a very, very innovative, very, very good offense that can score at will. I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop this Pitt Panthers team and this Desmond Reed and Mason Heinschel combination. So give me the Pitt Panthers here in this one. And you have a really exciting bowl game here between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Clemson Tigers. And this is in my home. I don't want to call it home borough. I'm close. But in my hometown of the Bronx, Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl here between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Clemson Tigers. So really disappointing seasons for both teams. I think the Penn State Nittany Lions got this one because I think every single draft eligible player for Clemson is just not going to play. Here's the thing. You're not playing on a football field. You're playing on a baseball field. I don't think players like a Peter Woods, like an Avion Terrell, like a TJ Parker, on the offensive side, like a Blake Miller, like a Cade Klubnik, guys like that. I don't think that we're going to see an Antonio Williams. We're not going to see these guys on the field because why would you? I mean, it's a notoriously difficult place to play. That's not baseball. So I would strongly advise against it. And Penn State, kind of the same deal. I mean, you're taking away Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, but I think they still have enough remnants talent to beat this Clemson Tigers team. So I think people are quick to look at the teams and go, "Oh yeah, I mean they're going to dominate Penn State," but I don't think that's the case. I think closer to home, Penn State knows how to play more in the cold than Clemson Tigers do. Give me the Penn State Nittany Lions here in this one. In the Bronx. Moving on to the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. So, admittedly, this Pinstripe Bowl is a way better matchup than the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. So screw you, Boston. But yeah, you have the Army Black Knights who are 6-5, who still haven't played Army Navy just yet, but they still are bowl eligible regardless, going up against the Yukon Huskies. And they did just lose Jim Mora Jr. to Colorado State. That's going to be a heck of a get for that program. Yukon coming in with another fantastic season. Skylar Bell was an unbelievable wide receiver. Joe Fagiano was a fantastic quarterback for them. Didn't throw an interception until like week 11 of the college football season. You know, just these are two former independents. One now plays in the AAC. Yukon, I think, at some point is going to have to get some kind of conference alignment. But yeah, give me Yukon in this one. I just think that their offense is just way better than what the Army Black Knights are going to be able to put out there. The Army Black Knights, after getting off to a disastrous start, losing to Tarleton State in week 1 of the college football season, a massive upset there. And you know, this has been kind of a disappointing season for Army. They're coming off of an AAC championship last year, and to be 6-5 and either be 6-6 or 7-5 after that is a little bit disappointing. But I do think Yukon, yeah, Boston's in for kind of an ugly game here. But give me the Yukon Huskies in this one. Then you have the Pop Tarts Bowl, and this is, and listen, the mascot is on the thumbnail of this video. They took the world by storm last year, and this is actually a heck of a game. You got the Georgia State Yellow Jackets taking on the BYU Cougars here in this one. Again, another team that I think is kind of going to get decimated by draft hopefuls for Georgia Tech. I think BYU kind of has this one in the bag for the most part, just purely because I don't think a lot of their their big time players are draft eligible outside of maybe Chase Roberts. But I do think that BYU, I don't know if Haynes King plays. Maybe he does, because I don't really know if he's going to get drafted. And if he does, he's not going to get drafted very high, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm still going to take the BYU Cougars in this one. Kind of a disappointing end to the season. I think Georgia was like 8-0, and then they finished 9-3. So a little bit of a disappointing season to miss out on the ACC championship game when the ACC was legitimately wide open. I also think it's hilarious that Georgia Tech was 9-3, and somehow Duke made the ACC championship game over them and won, and then missed out on the college football playoffs. It's a crazy scenario, but give me the BYU Cougars here in this one. Okay, I didn't know that this was a real thing. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl between the Miami of Ohio Redhawks and the Fresno State Bulldogs. Fresno State had a heck of a year this year, to be quite honest with you. I thought this was going to be another team that was kind of sort of dead in the water for the most part. You know, just one of those perpetual 5-7, 6-6 teams. No, they played very, very well on both sides of the ball. And Miami of Ohio is coming off of a MAC championship loss. The offense isn't nearly what it once was at the beginning of the season. They limped to the finish line. The defense, which usually is the best in the MAC, kind of leaky. And I think this Fresno State team is going to be able to fully exploit that. So give me the Fresno State Bulldogs here in this one. And now you have I don't even know how to say that word. I'm just going to say the New Mexico Bowl. So you have the North Texas Mean Green and Drew Metismaker versus San Diego State, Trey White, and Chris Johnson here in this one. But San Diego State relies so heavily on their defense. I mean, North Texas is coming off of an AAC championship game loss, which basically would have propelled them in college football playoffs. So that does have to sting a little bit. Drew Metismaker is going to, I realized that I said his, I always get that. I always get the S and the T mixed up somewhere there. But Metismaker is going to be out for blood in this one here. I think that, North Texas definitely know that they went up against a cupcake schedule this year. And this San Diego State Aztecs team is no pushover, especially on the defensive side. I think North Texas come in with a chip on their shoulder. I think Metismaker throws for 300, 400 yards, and they get the job done. I really like Wyatt Young as well as a young wide receiver, no pun intended. I think even though Metismaker's probably as good as gone after this game, I think there's a bright future for North Texas here. So give me the Mean Green over the San Diego State Aztecs here in this one. Then you have the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl between the Missouri Tigers and the Virginia Cavaliers, who unceremoniously lost the ACC championship game to 7-5 Duke. That's pretty interesting if you ask. But Yeah, this is make no mistake about it, Darian Mensah has been a fantastic quarterback, has been the best quarterback in the ACC this year. Other than that, the Virginia Cavaliers have had the third ranked pass defense in the entire FBS. I think they'll be able to shut down Bo Perbula, and they'll really be able to kind of hone in on that Ahmad Hardy train. So give me the Virginia Cavaliers here. I mean, I know they no disrespect to Missouri, but Virginia kind of, a disappointing loss in the ACC championship game definitely would have propelled them, in my opinion, into the college football playoffs. So that stings. I think they're going to come back, bounce back nicely. The defense is going to bounce back nicely against this team here, against Missouri, and we're going to take Virginia. And then you have the Texas Bowl between LSU and Houston. Now, this is tough because LSU, obviously did not have the season that they thought. They started, don't mind you, this LSU team was up to third in the country at one point. Let's not forget that. And then you have the LSU Tigers and you have the Houston Cougars, who have been hovering around the top 25 really all year. It's been a fabulous season for them this year. Connor Wegman has been a successful transfer. Tanner Koziel has been really good for them as well. But the thing is, this is still the LSU Tigers going up against the Houston Cougars here. And I know that LSU has a ton in terms of the draft leaving for actually they really don't. They do, but they kind of don't. Maybe more so on the defensive side than the offensive side. I think I'm going to go with the LSU Tigers in this one here. I just think that they match up really good, especially if Michael Van Buren plays against the Houston Cougars here. I just kind of think they match up a little bit better here. And Houston's defense was a little bit leaky towards the end of the season. So give me the LSU Tigers here in this one over the Houston Cougars. The J-Lab Birmingham Bowl between Georgia Southern and oh boy, how did Appalachian State make this? I forgot because teams did not take the bowl bid. But yeah, give me Georgia Southern in this one. App State with the first year with, oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank on his name? The first year head coach. He was an offensive coordinator for the Jets for a while, and I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. That's really unfortunate. It's going to come to me at some point. And Dowell Loggins. There you go. I knew I was going to come up with it eventually. But yeah, Dowell Loggins, kind of a disappointing first season for App State. Didn't really know what to expect, though. They did have a pretty hard schedule, too. The second half of their schedule was pretty hard. Georgia Southern, just a team that, J.C. French, the fourth, is one of my favorite names in all of college football. He had a really nice season for Georgia Southern. This offense, very nice, balanced, very good team. Just give me the Georgia Southern Eagles here over App State. They obviously, I don't want to sound mean, they don't really deserve to make this game here. And then you have the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl between Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. And man, oh man, did the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs prove me wrong this year. I thought they were going to go like 2-10 and be dead last in the conference. Now they are moving on. Let's not forget, Louisiana Tech is moving on to replace Texas in the Sun Belt. So they are moving to a different conference next year, and they put up a really, really good showing this year. The Chanticleers are a team that were incredibly inconsistent, and it shows by their 6-6 record. There would be weeks where they would lose 59-0 and weeks where they would shut down their opponent to score like 3 points. Very, very inconsistent team. I think Louisiana Tech are the much better team on paper, and I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech here in this one. They cap off a very, very nice season and then move to another conference. Now you have the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl here. This is actually getting to be a pretty big one as the years go on. You have Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers taking on the Illinois Fighting Illini. And for Illinois, I think this is a touch of a disappointing season for them. I really had high expectations for them, especially since their schedule wasn't nearly as difficult as a lot of the other teams at the top of the Big Ten. So a little bit of a disappointing season for them. Tennessee, great. Your Joey Aguilar is proving to be a real gunslinger. The offense looks good. The defense looks good. The emergence of Colton Hood has been fantastic. Give me the Tennessee Volunteers in this one over the Illinois Fighting Illini. Moving on to the Alamo Bowl here, and this one has the potential to be quite the shootout. You have the USC Trojans, who finished at 16 overall in the country, versus the TCU Horned Frogs in this one, and Josh Hoover and Sonny Dykes. But give me the USC Trojans here in this one, as long as everyone plays. I don't know if Mekhi Lemon would play. I don't even know if Jacoby Lane would play. But the fact that Jaden Mayava would still play is, I think that this offense is awesome, incredibly explosive. TCU Josh Hoover, don't get me wrong, he's an explosive quarterback in his own right. And you have Eric McAllister, who's actually one of the. I feel like TCU every year has one wide receiver that's like 6'6", that is just a complete athletic freak. I mean, a few years ago it was Quentin Johnston. Then you had Savion Williams. Now you have Eric McAllister. Like, where are they producing these players in Texas here? But give me the USC Trojans here in this one. The Reliquest Bowl here between the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Iowa Hawkeyes, and somehow the Iowa Hawkeyes always manage to finish like with at least 8 wins, with as bad of an offense as they had in terms of passing. They still somehow managed to do well. I mean, defensively they were fantastic. They're always so well coached. Vanderbilt, in what is Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers' last game in college, you bet your sweet bippy that Vanderbilt's going to pull off this victory over Iowa here and cap off probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, seasons for the Vanderbilt Commodores football program overall ever. And then you have the you have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl between the Arizona State Sun Devils and the Duke Blue Devils. So two Devils facing off against each other in the Sun Bowl. So that's what winning the ACC at 7-5 gets you. A bid to the Sun Bowl. That's great. Good for them. But yeah, I'm going to pick Duke here. I mean, Darian Mensah has been, I think Darian Mensah has been the best quarterback in the country this year. And I don't think he's gotten nearly enough praise. Don't get me wrong. I know Fernando Mendoza has been awesome. But let's look at what Fernando Mendoza has to throw to compared to what Duke and Darian Mensah have to throw to. I'm just going to put it out there. And that's no disrespect to Fernando Mendoza. I think he's going to win the Heisman. He's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. I think he's going to be good. But I don't think we're giving Darian Mensah his flowers nearly enough. But yeah, Arizona State even finishing 8-4. You know, no Sam Levitt, no Jordan Tyson in this game. Probably no Keith Abney. I think Duke is going to be more than fine in this one here. Then you got the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl here between the Michigan Wolverines. We are not going to speak about what the hell just happened there against the Texas Longhorns here. And I'll be quite honest with you guys. The only thing that I'm going to say is there's so much turmoil right now at Michigan. I don't really think these players are going to be ready for this bowl game, regardless, even though it's happening at the end of the month. I think they're going to be in the press for quite a long time now. And I think it's going to cause some real turmoil in that program. A lot of people are going to transfer out. A lot of people are going to decommit. Give me the Texas Longhorns in this one pretty easily in that one. Then you have the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl here between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Utah Utes. Now, the Utes went through like 2 weeks where they were kind of really not great, and then everyone came back to life. Devin Dampier started playing good football again. This Utah Utes team is just super talented defensively. Tao Johnson is a really, really nice prospect. Offensively, Caleb Lomu, Spencer Fano, great players overall. Devin Dampier is a great quarterback. Nebraska is kind of a little bit in a weird spot. I don't think Emmett Johnson is going to play, and really that would be the only thing that would I'd be like, well, maybe he'll run all over Utah, but yeah, I don't think Emmett Johnson is going to play in this one. Give me the Utah Utes in the Las Vegas Bowl here. Like I said, we're not going to talk about these games here. We're just going to click them. If you want to know more about my picks for these games and my explanations, please feel free to go over to my other video that I did on the college football playoff predictions that I had. At the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, oh, this is just so gross. Yeah, the 5-7 Rice Owls versus the 6-6 Texas State Bobcats. Disappointing final year in the Sun Belt for Texas State. I really thought that they were going to go out with a bang. Their offense is great. I think Bo Sparks is going to be a fantastic wide receiver going forward. It's going to be interesting to see if they could keep him on the team. I think with moving to the new look Pac-12, I think Texas State will be fine keeping their talent. But yeah, I mean, Rice, let's not sleep on Rice. Last year, they actually had the best defense per snap in the conference. Just putting that out there. So let's not sleep on them. They're not this, 1-11, 0-12 Rice Owls team that they were, 5-6 years ago. But they're getting there. But I think Texas State has more than enough talent on offense to get it done against the Rice Owls here. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl here between Navy and Cincinnati. What a matchup here. Cincinnati had a weird season. They really, the last month of the season was really not kind to them. Braden Sorsby, I think, he's going to be busy. I think he's either going to be looking for a new college to go to, or he's going to be looking towards the NFL draft. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Give me the Midshipmen in this one. The Midshipmen are just a team that are so well coached, so balanced. I mean, they have Blake Horvath, excuse me, and Eli Heidenreich are a fantastic 1-2 punch. I think they're going to run all over the Cincinnati Bearcats team. Give me the midshipman here in this one. Wake Forest, you have the Wake Forest Demon Deacons coming off of a very, very nice season with a couple of really talented playoffs, led by Damon Claiborne on the ground as well. And then you have them against the Mississippi State Bulldogs here. Give me the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to cap off a really, really nice season for them. I don't think Mississippi State, respectfully, I don't think Mississippi State really belong in a bowl game here this year. And yeah, Wake Forest has done more than enough to make me think that they're going to beat Mississippi State. Moving on to the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl here, you have the 8-4 SMU Mustangs taking on the number 17 overall team in the country, the Arizona Wildcats here. Tough game. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Wildcats. I've been doubting them all year long, but Noah Fafita actually put in a very, very good campaign for the Wildcats. He kind of built himself up a little bit more than you know he. I mean, last year he was looking like a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the class, and then went back to school and after a disastrous season last year for Arizona, and now he built himself back up. I think he has one more year of eligibility if I'm not mistaken. That would be nice for him to go back and kind of pull up another season like he did this year. But give me the Arizona Wildcats in this one. We're going to skip the semifinal, and that's it. All right. I didn't realize that those were the last 3 games that we had to pick there, but yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. And let's do that. I don't really know what else to put there. So just to complete this here. Oh man, that's fun. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are my picks for every single bowl game in college football for Capital One Bowl Mania here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.